Welcome to Stand Up for Doctors. I'm your host, Kim Downey. Thank you very much for joining us. This channel is dedicated to amplifying the voices of doctors, other healthcare professionals, and patients as they share their unique struggles, triumphs, and passions. My mission is to build connection and create advocacy for healthy doctors, driving positive change that benefits both doctors and patients. This is a space for everyone who cares about the future of healthcare. If you appreciate this content, please like and subscribe now. It really helps the episodes reach our target audience. And I would like to welcome back both Dr. Susan Vogler and Dr. Susan Baumgaertel. Thanks for joining us today, Susan and Susan. It's going to
Thank
be a
you.
mouthful of Susans.
We like it that way.
Yeah.
Yes, me too. Thank you, Kim, for having us on.
You're
Really
very
appreciate
welcome. I've done an episode with two Jeffs before, so this is like the second
it.
time. And by way of introduction, Dr. Susan Vogler is a medical science liaison and co-founder of the Two Susans newsletter. Her background is a board-certified OBGYN and certified menopause practitioner. Susan built a robust career managing complex OBGYN healthcare issues. Her journey has been characterized by a steadfast commitment to excellence in comprehensive patient care, remaining at the forefront of medical advancement. So thank you for everything that you've done for patients over the years.
Thank you very
And
much.
Dr. Susan Baumgaertel is an advocate for patients and an ally to colleagues, author of the Menopause Menu, and co-founder of the Two Susans newsletter. She's an internal medicine physician with over 30 years of clinical experience, and Susan stepped away from direct patient care into the virtual medical advocacy arena, founding MyMD Advocate in early 2022. And that's fantastic. And today we'll be talking about how every doctor has a story, and you'll each have an opportunity to share one of your own. And then also how the two of you connected and decided to collaborate on your newsletter. And in addition, all three of us have had surgeries in recent years, and we all need doctors. And I'll also ask you what support and suggestions you can offer to your colleagues who are continuing to practice clinical medicine. So, as we get started, what would you like our audience to most know about you? And you can include hobbies, anything you want. Susan B., would you like to go first?
I'm just really enjoying my portfolio career. And, it's kind of spanning many decades now at this point, of course. I had my degree in architecture urban planning. That was before med school. I zipped through 32 years of being a physician. Wow, cannot believe that. I think I really am an entrepreneur at heart. I've launched so many programs over the decades. Partnership in Health, which was a mini concierge program that ran for 21 years. Mini for Change, which is a weight management wellness program that ran for 7 years. And then, of course, Menopause Menu, which is my passion project from the pandemic, which is a free site for all women and men to learn about menopause. And my new business, which is my MD Advocate, going 3 years strong. So, add to that authorship, educator, speaker. I'm a daily walker. I'm a Navy mom. I just love that kind of concept of portfolio career because, we can define that as we go along. Nothing really defines us. So that's what I'd love for everyone to know about me.
For sure. That's fantastic. And Susan Vogler, what would you like to share?
Well, first, I have to say the views and opinions that are expressed today are solely my own and not the company that I work for. So, what I'd like people to know about me is I'm a board certified OBGYN, as you described, Kim. I'm also a Menopause Society certified practitioner. I practiced for nearly 20 years before I stopped working clinically and pivoted. And I'm still navigating my career and my journey, post-clinical. But, my career was steadfast. It was long and it was very exciting. And what I enjoy most when I'm not working is I very much enjoy yoga, meditation. Like Susan B., I'm a long walker, having walked 100 kilometers in the Camino de Santiago about 2 years ago. I've maintained my commitment to long walking, and it's just incredibly invigorating, meditative, and truly enjoyable. So that's about it for me.
I love that. I'm a walker too, and I used to do some trail walking, but when I got Lyme disease, that made me a little afraid of that. So I'm debating getting back to it because nature in my neighborhood is fine. It's different nature on the trail. So I have to overcome that. So Susan B., tell us a story.
Oh my gosh. Story about my past or story about something inspirational
A
or
powerful story from your life, because
got
people
it.
remember the stories most of all.
Yeah, well, this is actually very recent. I have so many stories that are patient related, but this is kind of getting true to kind of what really keeps me going. So, I've always trusted my gut instinct. My previous office staff always got worried when I was concerned about a patient, having cancer or something else bad because I was always right.
Mhm.
And so, I recently started putting a lot of attention into my menopause mini website. And I had received an email from someone who claimed she had signed up to my website and that my email notifications were going to her spam folder. And I thought, like, whatever. So another week went by, and I thought her email was spam. Well, she emailed me again. And I don't know what it was about this email or what about, I mean, I just, again, that gut instinct, I thought, like, this is not a bot, it's a real person. And oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm replying. So fast forward to a week later, we actually had a Zoom meeting, and voila, she turns out she's in Australia. She's a real person. She's highly skilled and full of great ideas. And we've now been working together for the past month. And I am so excited because she has just helped me polish a lot of things that really were quite unpolished. And, I sat back and I thought, like, wow, I listened to my gut. I took a chance. So the moral of my story for physicians listening, have trust in yourself, right? Step outside your comfort zone. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Accept help from others and really put energy into your entrepreneurial adventures.
I love that. Listen to your gut and accept help from others. Those are two huge, huge things. So thank you for sharing that. Susan Vogler, tell us a story.
Yeah, my most inspirational story I can think of is I think it was 1 or 2 days after I had my surgery and I had my hand in the splint and I was in quite a bit of pain. And I so happened to reach out to someone through So Many Docs and set up a networking call. And this person was Dr. B, Susan B, who had the leap of faith after a 20 or 30-minute conversation to mention to me, Susan, if you would ever like to collaborate on a project, let's talk again when you're feeling better. So lo and behold, 6 to 8 months later, if I remember correctly, Susan B and I were on the telephone again, a Zoom meeting, networking, and lo and behold, that was the launch of the Two Susans newsletter. So I have to say, even kind of in the worst and the best times, even when you're writhing in pain, you've hardly even adequately washed your hair because you only have one functioning hand. This wonderful person on the other side of the screen took the leap of faith and really reached out to me and said, hey, let's do something together. And I was absolutely thrilled and grateful. And that's the most inspirational story I can share that happened just over the last year and a half. So Susan B., I will forever be grateful for our
Oh, you're making
friendship
me
and our
cry.
professional collaboration.
That's awesome. So, Susan Vogler, I think you and I connected before that because I think you had mentioned to me that you were having an upcoming surgery.
I
So,
think so too.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that. What would you like to share about your newsletter?
Well, maybe I'll start. So when I kind of had this idea, I dreamed this I had this vision of, learning how to write newsletters. And so I kind of took a couple classes and I thought, like, oh my gosh, I have to have a platform for this. That's all stressful and everything. And I wanted a fun title and of course Susan, I thought, oh, the two Susans, it doesn't exactly say what it's all about, but it kind of is intriguing. I think sometimes that kind of catches people's attention. So, I thought we had these great synergy. I love that, we have different voices. Dare I say, we're not the same as Click and Clack, but if you're in the Boston area, Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers, right? Oh my gosh, the banter back and forth. I had this silly thought, like, oh, we could do something like that. It's not exactly like that, but I just feel like this is a project that has gotten bigger and bigger. We're just, approaching our 1 year anniversary now, and it's just been a warm fuzzy all along.
Oh, congratulations, Susan Vogler. What would you like to add?
It's really been a joy and a challenge all at the same time. And Susan B is just so fabulous to work with. I think that we do have a wonderful synergy. We can bounce ideas off one another without any judgment or anything other than support, and to support each other through the journey. I remember when Susan said, let's collaborate on a newsletter. What do you think? And my first response was, oh my gosh, I've only written some articles during my career for a local newspaper, but I've never done anything, a dedicated monthly newsletter. And we decided on monthly because we thought that twice monthly, a weekly, may be just a little bit too much for our schedules at the time. But I remember vividly coming up with sort of the theme of our newsletter. And I have to say, I'm very proud to say that I think we have a very unique platform looking at women's health, both from the perspective of a gynecologist, obstetrician gynecologist, and also internal medicine, with also a running theme of aging. And I feel personally, and as discussed with Susan almost a year ago, is that I don't think there's enough written and talked about aging and how it affects women, how it affects people. And this is our platform to hopefully very successfully month to month weave that through women's health issues. So I'm very much hoping that we will continue, and our goal is to continue with the newsletter, continue growing it, and continuing exploring other topics that would be very relevant to women midlife and beyond. So, it's really been a joy and a lot of fun to do. And, I hope that our goal is just to bring it forward further and further.
That's great. And lots of times physicians feel so siloed. So an example of collaborating and you're on opposite sides of the country and everything, that's terrific. And I think that's why other physicians and myself enjoy collaborating on all the Kevin D articles as well, because so often they feel siloed. And when you can get together and put something forth into the world together, I think that that's beautiful. And what I also try to do with this channel. So this channel is also, of course, to support our physician colleagues. So I'm wondering if you could each speak to what has helped you overcome challenges. Susan Baumgaertel.
Wow. I guess I would say, thinking personally, prioritizing sleep. That was important for me to kind of regain my creativity and my energy and kind of move forward in a positive way. Walking every day, I think 3 to 5 miles. Oh my gosh. I haven't missed a single day, even with our bomb cyclones. That's the West Coast equivalent of hurricane, or the atmospheric rivers, which is like a river dumping from the sky. Yep, we've had a few of those. And then recently I've had a stress fracture in my foot, but I still don't miss a day. I'm very careful about it. So I think you really have to kind of prioritize your own needs. And I think that's the best way to kind of regroup when there's a big challenge, be it professional or personal or career related.
Yeah, I love that. Just prioritizing self-care all the time before you need it, when you need it, because you always need it. And just
Yeah.
those basic things, because people would say, yeah, of course, sleep and walk and exercise. But it's so true. And it doesn't mean other people, it means you, right? It means all of us.
For sure.
Susan Vogler, what has helped you overcome challenges?
So many things, but of late, the last 5 to 10 years, I spend every morning at least 10 minutes practicing either mindfulness or actually a dedicated meditation practice. So I find that if I set aside 15 minutes every day, and of course, there's some days here and there I can't for one reason or the other, I find that I get through my day far more efficiently and with more joy too. And it allows me, if I'm efficient with my work and what I want to accomplish, both from a personal and professional standpoint, that allows me a little bit of extra time at the end of the day to do something else. So I think that meditation, yoga has really helped me get through some really tough times. Recently, I lost my father, and remembering his words of encouragement has continued to really help me get through the day moving forward. So he always had something very encouraging to say to me, even during his his last years suffering from dementia. But, I remember those words and they're very inspirational every day.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I'm sorry. Yeah, my husband and I have both lost our dad, so we can, of course, relate to that. But that's a beautiful gift that he left you with. And mindfulness. I know for myself, sometimes I quote unquote kill two birds with one stone and try to do like mindful walking because I try to walk every day too, right? And that it's different because if you're not mindful when you're walking, then you just keep either ruminating or, like rehashing problems. But sometimes the answers come to you when you try not to do that and try to think of, nothing or just focus on what do I hear now or, counting your steps or something like that. Is there anything more specific you want to share about your mindfulness practice?
When I think walking is very meditative, and what I focus on is like listening to the birds or listening to the trees in the wind. It may sound a little hokey to some, but really, with time and with practice, you can really sort of feel the difference in terms of how you feel, kind of mentally, physically, spiritually. And so that's one way that I practice mindfulness is when I go for a long walk. Other things that have helped me is just, I think Susan already brought up the topic of sleep. We recently did a newsletter on sleep and the positive effects of proper sleep, both from a physical, medical, and psychological standpoint, as it relates to women's care or women's health. And I think that as Americans, particularly, I mean, I think women are very busy, and especially the society in which we live, it's very difficult to get enough rest. And it's really important that we instill that in others as physicians, the importance of adequate sleep and how much better you feel when you get a good night's rest. So that's coming from someone who suffers from, insomnia. So I think that, I've kind of learned my lesson on that to do, have these techniques so I get a better night's rest.
And I think, it's interesting because we're all stressed, right? I mean, don't even get into politics. But I seem to solve like 95% of my problems in my morning shower, on my daily walk, or after I sleep, like not at night ruminating, but after I've had a good night's sleep. It's like with those three things, it's a trifecta. And it's just amazing how something can seem almost insurmountable and you get a little time and space and a little moment to yourself, and suddenly it's, what was I worried about?
Mm-hmm. It's true. And I would say even you can do that with driving instead of having your brain constantly going if you try to clear your mind or focus on, whatever what's in the distance, right? That can be a time as well, I found. So what support and suggestions can you offer to your colleagues who are continuing to practice clinical medicine?
Oh boy. I think, the word respect comes to mind. I think patients need to be respectful that their physicians are not the same as the broken system. I think physicians need to be respectful. Patients are super stressed. They can't get in, they've been waiting, and yada, yada, yada. And so I think mutual respect, taking the time to listen, like each side needs to listen to each other. I think that just goes a long way to foster a more, dare I say, holistic, but a more sane environment.
Mhm.
Respect certainly comes to mind as well, and also just expressing gratitude to your physician and physician expressing gratitude to the patient. It's sometimes easy to say that, but taking a moment to thank your physician, I think is important, and I think it can be inspiring and motivational to the clinician who is still working and still in the trenches, if you will. So expressing gratitude as well as respect, I think, is really high on the list. So
So those are all excellent, and I'm trying to make a huge impact for Doctors Day, which is coming up this Sunday. So our episode will be published after that. But any time is a good time to thank a doctor. So I fully agree with that, to send a thank you note to a doctor, express gratitude. And I love what you both said about, mutual respect and listening. And it's interesting because just last week, Dr. Tiffany Troso Sandoval interviewed me, and she is a physician practicing out on Long Island. and she advocates for patients. So we thought it was so interesting that she's a doctor advocating for patients, and I'm a patient advocating for doctors, and just these conversations. And when you're in the clinic with your doctor or with your patient, that mutual respect and listening to each other, they seem so basic, but it's so important, and I think that's really golden. So thank you very much for sharing that. Susan Baumgartel, would you like to share something that brings you joy?
Oh boy, many things do, but I'm a Navy mom. My daughter's going to be 25. She's been in the service as an officer for almost 3 years now. Holy cow, when she was in the Middle East, I was terrified. But, becoming a Navy mom is like learning a new language. It's hard to be a civilian because I'm not part of the club, right? Her new family. But I celebrate her path. I celebrate her journey. It gives me joy. Any parent seeing their child kind of grow into adulthood, of course, it's a great feeling. But seeing this kind of path that she's on is kind of awe-inspiring, and it definitely brings me joy, even though very few people use the word joy and military service in the same sentence. But I'm bringing it back to the personal side of it, the human to human connection, the mother-daughter bond, and to me, that's sacrosanct.
Mhm. Yeah, that's beautiful. How about you, Susan Vogler?
So there's so many things that bring me joy. I feel very grateful for all of them. I very much, of course, enjoy spending time with my husband and with family and with friends. I'm always so grateful to have that time. And, I grew up a figure skater, and the World Figure Skating Championships are starting just tomorrow here in Boston. So I will have extreme joy all week, watching and attending some of the events. So that sport has always brought me joy, and reading also brings me incredible joy. There's nothing better than reading a really good novel. So that also is something that I try to set time aside at least every week to do some good reading too. But there's so many things. There's just a couple that come to the top of my head.
Hmm. Well, that's really terrific. So I'll ask you each if there's anything else that you would like to share with our audience. Susan B.
I would just put a plug in for everyone needs to subscribe to the Two Seasons newsletter. And you can do that by hopping over onto LinkedIn. It's there. I also profile it on my website, Menopause Menu, but LinkedIn is the main platform where you can read the newsletter, and it comes out once a month. April is right around the corner, and we have a really good one. So I'm going to leave that teaser there. It's a good one.
Well, I will dovetail that by saying, not only subscribing, but send us ideas of what readers would like us to write about. I think it's a collective effort. It's just not Susan B. and I in on this adventure. I like to think of it as we're providing a service, for lack of a better word, to our readers. And it's always a joy to hear from readers what they like about the newsletter, what more they would like to see from the newsletter, and offering some suggestions for topics. So from time to time, I get emails from those who read it, and I encourage more because it's really terrific to hear from everyone.
It is always nice to get feedback because, as you know, I have a Substack Stand Up for Doctors newsletter, and when you send it out and you get some feedback, that's always very rewarding. So I fully can understand and appreciate that as well. Susan B., how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Well, if they hop on over to my professional website, mymdadvocate.com, I have my email, my phone number, God forbid. So I love to get people reaching out. They can connect with me on LinkedIn. That would be fabulous. They can sign up for my free Menopause Menu website information and emails. And of course, I have a YouTube channel.
Awesome. Susan Vogler?
Well, I'm old fashioned. I just have my my email address. You can certainly visit my website and you'll find my email address there. If you're on LinkedIn, you can connect with me or communicate with me on LinkedIn as well.
And you're not that old fashioned if you have a website. So go you. Okay. Well, thanks again for being my guest. I'm very happy to have the two Susans on, and this is be great to share soon. And it's
Well,
nice springtime offering.
Well, Kim, thank you so much. And thank you for everything that you do for all physicians, every single one of us. You're always advocating, you're working so hard getting the word out for, supporting physicians. So thank you for all that you do.
What Susan said. Yeah. Thank you for having us. It's just been really our pleasure.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for appreciating that because it does keep me going because I do this from the time I wake up till the time I go to bed, and I'm still finding
Mm.
my way because I didn't expect to do any of this, so I keep trying to catch up with myself. But just the gratitude from the genuine gratitude from physicians and my full understanding as a healthcare professional and a patient, right, going through cancer 3 times during the pandemic, like I saw every angle that you can see and had all kind of experiences, and I'm choosing to try to make a difference, to support the healers who are caring for us. So
Well, thank you for doing so, Kim. It's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks
yeah,
for having us.
you as well. And Susan Vogler, we got to meet in person, right? This will be the year.
Yes, this will be the year. Kim, promise, I promise we will meet for sure.
Okay,
We'll,
fantastic.
we'll
So
fly Susan B out from Seattle.
I know. Yeah, I
yeah.
have a little 3,000-mile puddle jump.
Yeah, exactly. So in closing, to move the needle in healthcare, we all need to raise our voices and we all need to care about each other. We already know that doctors need to care about patients. Patients need to care about doctors too. So stand up, doctors, and let's stand up for doctors.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.